G'day everybody, welcome back to another weekly tipping video on the channel. In this video today I'm going to be doing my tips for round 16 of the 2022 AFL season. The season is just getting better and better, more competitive, it's starting to shape, and also the tips are starting to become more decisive and harder to choose. If you're going to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, that'd be much appreciated. And let's kick it off with my tips from last week. Rightio, my tips from round 15, and I managed to get a 5 out of 9. I mean, I'll take it. It could have been better, could have been a really lot worse. I mean, it was a great round of footy and overall, so there's going to be a few tricky games in there. But here we go. Tip the Lions, Melbourne get a massive win. Did tip the Bulldogs, thought they'd get the job done, and they sure did over the Hawks. West Coast went for the, kind of risky tip. I really felt like West Coast could win this game, and they sure did. Thought Fremantle would get this win by tipping them. They're pretty good interstate playing this year. They're, playing very well interstate, but, Carlton are just unstoppable at Marvel Stadium. Massive win for them. Went for the Tigers. I thought they'd just be, as they usually are, play their best at the MCG compared to the Geelong, who don't usually play the greatest at the MCG, but this was seriously game of the year. Cats run to the pump, but their fourth quarter was very bold. A lot of in the corridor play, and they won a beauty. Tipped the Swans, and I actually had a deep feeling that the Swans would get a massive win over St Kilda, and they sure did, pretty much shell-shocking them. And is that season over for St Kilda? Perhaps. It was a really poor performance. Obviously tipped the Crows in the Sunday game, and they cruised to victory. Taylor Walker, 5 goals, simple as that. Risky tip going with the Giants. The scoreboard really did flatter them. They should have lost by at least 10 goals, really. Collingwood 11 goals, 22. Probably you want a bit of a percentage booster from that situation, the Pies fans, but they do have some pretty easy fixtures coming up, so they should be able to get those percentage boosters from those games. And the final game, this was an absolute beauty. I did tip Port Adelaide. They play their best footy at home, and yeah, their home crowd pretty much got around their crew, and they picked up an absolute beauty. This was a shootout and a half, great game, and they keep their season alive, Port Adelaide. Before we get into my tips for round 16, we'll quickly go over the top 10 of the leaderboard, my tipping competition, of course. And yeah, it's starting to really shape up a bit. It's getting pretty tight with the top 10, but yeah, 10th we've got Hawke's Bay with 107, 9th Jason Raiders with 108, 8th with 108, 7th Ben Platten with 108, 6th Buck for Life with 109, 5th Richmond for Life with 110, 4th Demons Premiers 2021 with 110, 3rd Banger Harvey. He's usually been first for weeks on end, but he's slipped down to 3rd with 110, 2nd Batrooni with 110, and 1st Kebab King, he is our new ladder leader with 111 points. Rightio everybody, let's get into my tips for round 16, kicking off with another cracking Thursday contest. Brisbane Lions hosting the Western Bulldogs at the Gabba. Both teams are, pretty in a bit of a questionable situation at the moment. Obviously, the Bulldogs, they can't really afford to drop many games. They've got quite a tricky fixture coming up. I think they've got 6 games in a row versing top 6, top 8 opponents. It's going to be tough for them, and they cannot afford to continue to drop games. Whilst for the Brisbane Lions, they are looking safe while they are, but they really got a reality check last week. They were poor, and I think the last month has been pretty ordinary. They've gotten some not so really convincing results where they've liked to, play better. I think they've been underachieving a bit. But anyway, Gabba, they still get results no matter which opponent it is, really. They're unstoppable there. And look, I can see Bulldogs really pulling together a really strong performance. I think they've been quite decent these past few weeks. But simply, at the Gabba, Brisbane Lions should be picking up a result here. Full strength side. Yeah, they'll really bounce back because that was poor. They haven't played at the MCG in quite a while, since 2020, I feel. So, they've learnt that poor losses can sometimes bolster a side, and yeah, they should bounce back here against the Western Bulldogs and win this game by 22 points. Friday night game, we've got Carlton taking on St Kilda at Marvel Stadium. St Kilda are really now in a bit of strife. If they drop this game, I think it really could be season over. Obviously not mathematically season over, but their run home is truly in a lot of strife. They've got some tough opponents. Had the Swans last week, they lost, and now they have an even tougher opponent of Carlton at Marvel Stadium. And I tell you, probably playing Carlton at Marvel Stadium from form-wise, what we've seen this year, is one of the hardest opponents to play at a particular venue. They are unstoppable there. The crowd is crazy. Literally, when a goal is kicked, You can hear the bloody speakers crackle, from the Fox Footy broadcast. It's absolutely crazy, but Carlton are flying at the moment. Their performance last week was outstanding. Forward half pressure was elite. The forwards are just rocking. The midfield is dominating. They're in some terrific form. And against the St Kilda, who you just really can't see much, light at the end of the tunnel at the moment, I don't think I can really see them at all winning this game. Carlton will continue to surge, and they'll pick up a big win here against the Saints and win by 38 points. Now for the Saturday games, and we have Essendon taking on the Sydney Swans at the MCG. Geez, they've had a bit of an up and down past fortnight, the Bombers. Massive win against St Kilda. That was probably their best performance of the year. And then just a really poor loss to West Coast. Even though they lost that game, they really could have put the game to bed. They started off very well. They just couldn't kick straight with Peter Wright and other forwards. And they just, couldn't be bothered to defend in that second half. They were challenged by West Coast surging back, but their transition off the defence was poor. Too many goals I saw from West Coast where they just kicked it inside 50 or on the transition, and it was a 3-on-1 for West Coast. They just are really struggling at the moment. They're having a lot of mismatches as well with their key position players. I think Ridley's been playing as key, like he's not even playing as the intercepting defender as he should be, and Jake Kelly's all over the place. So, look, they're in a bit of strife at the moment, and against the Sydney Swans, look, I can really see Essendon do bounce back, and this could really be a bit of a danger game for the Swans, maybe, because in retrospect, Bombers do usually play good footy against the Swans, but I think the Swans are really starting to hit their stride now. It was a terrific, classy, composed win against Essendon last week, and I think just their defensive half defense was brilliant last week from the Swans, and they should be able to take control of the Bombers here and pick up a pretty convincing win, I do feel, and they'll win by 40 points. Now for Adelaide taking on the Melbourne Demons. Geez, when you look at this matchup, you can only think of the one time these two sides played last year. It was one of the upsets of the season. Adelaide Crows knocking off the Demons. What a game that was. Plenty of controversy too, but just looking at it now, I think Demons, wow, that performance last week just shows, okay, we're sorry for disrespecting you. I had the Demons 4th in my mid-season predictions, so yeah, I'm just going to say sorry the Demons. Look, I think, yeah, a win like that, they should really start to just ramp it up even more. It was just totally dominant, and they should do it against an Adelaide side, which, they're a very competitive side. They've got nothing to lose, so I think they're going to throw absolutely everything at the Demons. So I can really see Adelaide maybe being in the lead at halftime, let's say. Taylor Walker could really see kicking a bag too. But for me, the Demons, they're too strong. And they should really continue their form and win this one by 31 points. Saturday night game, we have Geelong taking on North Melbourne at GMHBA Stadium. North Melbourne, their season just keeps on getting worse and worse. People are saying that this is, the last time they've seen a worse side than this North Melbourne was the Fitzroy Lions in their last year back in the middle of the 1990s. It is just truly a shambles. We saw Taron Thomas be, just disinterested and all that stuff, and there's just been so many talks around the negativity of the club. And against Geelong, I saw a sports bet. I think it was like $1 to $21 odds. So I think we all know Geelong should pick up a big win here, and they'll win a big one, I feel. And they'll win by 82 points. This is probably one of the more underrated matchups, and maybe one of the games of the round. Gold Coast hosting Collingwood at Metricon Stadium. It's a really interesting tip, this one. A really interesting matchup. Collingwood were able to get the hand of Gold Coast the last time they played a few rounds ago back at the G, but this is a bit more of a different kind of atmosphere. Gold Coast are very, very good. It's very hard to beat a Gold Coast side at Metricon Stadium this year. I don't think they really lost that much with that loss last week. They're kind of maybe in a situation when they've got nothing to lose. They just want to keep on getting better and better. They're probably not worrying too much about finals footy, so they do have that upside. Whilst Collingwood, they're flying too, so it's a really tough one to choose. I think when you look at both teams, Collingwood are just their pressure. They play that kind of finals footy brand, so this could really mean they could get the win here. But then again, Gold Coast, it's just, it's very tough. Their transition is very good. Their key defense, their defense has been very excellent. Midfield has been bossing it, and 𝐼𝐻 has been fantastic. It's a hard one to tip. I feel like a lot of people go for Gold Coast here, but I reckon Collingwood can get this done. I think they've proven more than enough for me to really tip them here. They really should have won by at least 50, 60 points against the Giants, and I think they'll get a really, really good win, quality win, in a tough atmosphere at Metricon Stadium against the Suns, and they'll win a nip and tuck battle by 8 points. Now for the Sunday games, we have Richmond hosting the West Coast Eagles at the MCG. geez, the Tigers fans are not happy they dropped that game last week. But then again, they have that psychological edge where you just have a loss where you really could have won. You're going to come out absolutely firing the next week, usually, and play out of your skins. And against the West Coast Eagles, massive win last week, but maybe it's time for them to get a bit of a reality check, and they might start copying a bit of a bigger loss. Obviously, last time these two sides played, Richmond won by over 100 points, and don't think it will be as big as a margin, but Richmond should, pick up a pretty convincing win here, and they'll win by 52 points. Then we have the Giants taking on Hawthorn at Giants Stadium. An interesting matchup, this one. Teams, it's 14th versus 15th, so I think matchup-wise, it's a pretty close one. But simply just looking at this, I've been thinking about this one, ever since I saw the tip. I'm just liking the Giants at the moment, simple as that. I think Hawthorn are really capable of pulling off a win here. In fact, they're probably a very good value team to tip here. But I think they just cannot seem to play 4 full quarters. They start off really well, or do vice versa, and then they just drop off, lose intensity, just leak goals. I mean, they leaked, I think, for 2.5 quarters, they lost about 82 to 6 or something. They just have periods where they just drop intensity too much. And I think the Giants, look, they really should have lost by more last week, but I still love how they play. They're a high-scoring side, and they'll pick up a pretty high-scoring game here against Hawthorn. They'll win this one, and they'll win it by 17 points. And for the final game of the round, we have Fremantle hosting Port Adelaide at Optus Stadium. What a win it was for Port Adelaide, keeping their slim finals chances alive. But geez, against Fremantle, they are going to be a pretty rowdy bunch, I do feel, their playing list. It was just a poor performance last week, but this is the beauty of the competition. Every team's having their poor performances. And Fremantle heading back to Optus Stadium. Look, Port Adelaide, I think their past 5 weeks have been very competitive. So I think it could be a bit of a danger game here for Fremantle. I don't know what the weather is, but if it's good, I think Fremantle should get the upper hand here. I think just watching their second quarter, they held off Carlton, the best they possibly could. They really could have leaked 10 or, seriously, goal after goal. But their defense, their back six was very good, but they just couldn't handle the surge of the Blues. So yeah, they'll pick up a win here, I reckon, Fremantle. Bit of a danger game, but I reckon they'll get hold of Port Adelaide, and they'll win this one by 21 points. So everybody, there were my tips for round 16 of the 2022 AFL season. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you went on to enjoy today's video. And also feel free to comment down below and tell me what you think of my tips. And also feel free to comment down yours below too. Love to hear your fellas' thoughts. So anyways, fellas, that's the end of today's video. Thank you very much for watching. And until next time, I'll talk to you later. See you later, fellas.